Hello and welcome to another episode of the same old Arsenal transfer deadline day. The window has now slammed shut. We thought we'd do a special tonight. I've got a few guests on with me, all Arsenal fans, just to talk about the transfer window this January. Do we like it? Do we hate it? Who cares? It's now slammed shut. Arsenal have done some business, and we just want to find out what our guests think about the window so far. Has it been good? Has it not been? Joining me all the way over from Australia, it is Mad Max. Max, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. My hat's a bit crooked. Hold on. There we go. Ready to go, mate. Ready to go.
Much better. Much better. And talking of hats, we have Scunny back in the house. Scunny, how are you, man?
You all right, guys? How's it going?
All good. Thanks for joining me again, mate.
Right,
Corey is back. Corey, how are you, brother?
I'm good, bro. Glad to be here.
Good man. And last but not least, it is Rage a Lot. It is the Shakespearean Jens Lehmann. Manny, how are you, bruv?
I'm currently sticking my middle finger up at all the Leave voters. I hate you all, but I'm blessed, bruv.
Man, this isn't a politics podcast, man. This is all about Arsenal.
I'm just saying, bruv. You got to touch on current events a little bit. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Can't see me, but I'm doing it, bruv.
Manny, we'll start with you, man, because the transfer window in January. First of all, what did you make of it, Manny, in terms of Arsenal's transfer business? Are you okay with the January window?
Yeah, actually, I am. It started out with us being linked with the Boatengs and the Kazawas, and I was thinking, this Arsenal, we can't fall for this again, for cast-offs from big clubs. You know what I mean? It hasn't worked for us in the past, but I'm happy with it, because we finally got a left-footed, defender. It kind of opens the pitch up for us a little bit. He's an unknown quantity somewhat. The people who say that they've watched him, you're liars. Nobody's really watched this guy, so he's an unknown, and the unknown kind of excites me. And with Suarez, we've looked for, a backup right back for a while. I think we touched on when we were on Ask Bros, a few Ask Bros episodes back. We were talking about, getting in that competition for Bellerin and saying that he hasn't really got that much competition and Maitland-Niles is just a stopgap. Well, now we have a guy, Premier League experience. We've been calling out for it. Both of them loans, so we don't have to, we don't have to commit to them. Good business for me. It addresses some areas that needed addressing. So a positive for me, mate.
And Max, do you think that is, as Manny says, we've had a lot of injuries at the back and a lot of issues at fullback. So must be fairly sort of wise business from Arteta this window.
Yeah, a very un-Arsenal transfer window, because you would expect us, like, historically, and I'm not saying this in a positive way, historically we would have gone and got Kazawas and Boatengs. They're the type of shitty signings that Arsenal would usually go and make. So to go and pull someone out of Brazil, who's, mixed reports, but everyone seems to think is quite a good player, and to go get a utility wide back, 2-footed, with Premier League experience, it just feels very, very un-Arsenal. And I'm pretty much fine with it. The only thing I'm maybe a little bit apprehensive about is the Mari loan. I think I would have just rather buy him outright than spend the extra £3 million or whatever it's. I think we could have had him for 9. We're going to end up paying 12 if we take him. I would have rather just bought him. If he doesn't work, sell him. But other than that, mate, quite happy.
Fair one. And Scunny, we're not seeing anything big spending-wise, no massive signings because of what's going on with us financially at the moment. But surely kind of my say on it was, if there's a player that Arteta and Edu both like and they go for him, does it matter how much we're spending, Scunny, as long as the player suits Arteta's philosophy of style?
No, not really. Edu's the one who brought Martinelli in, and he hasn't gone wrong there, has he? So, and that was at the start of this season. So, you got to trust him in some respect in that way. I think it is a good bit of business, although I'm not really overly convinced by the Cedric Suarez one. I'm not overly sure as from what I can remember when he was at Southampton. I don't think he was brilliant. I think he had a couple of good games, but it's cover for right back, and he's only a loan deal. So it like we could say, we can always send him back at the end of it. The Mari one, it does sort of make sense, that one, because we've been after a centre back for a long time, and with Mari as well, because he was at Manchester City when Arteta was there. He knows obviously a lot about him, although he didn't break through at City. But you got to think what was look what he had ahead of him as well, at City with Laporte, who just come in recently for him. He's a company, he's a Otamendi, so it's going to be hard to anyone for breakthrough to get into that team for there. So, and it hasn't really worked out for him on loans. I'm not too sure. I think he went to Deportivo, and then he ended up in the Brazilian league. So they must see something in him to go all the way out there and try and grab him. So, but I agree with Max as well on that one. It's a case of, should we just spent the 9 million on him rather than just getting a loan and then having to spend 12? I think it's probably just more worthwhile just spending that 9. It just makes more sense.
Well, we're going to start talking about this guy because I don't think I think we'd all be lying if we said we knew a lot about him. So, Corey, we'll come to you first on the Mari's deal because he's a left-footed centre-back. He's 6'4", and Arteta has rightly said today in the press conference that we have 6 centre-backs that are all right-footed. So that to me is a signing that makes sense. What do you make of Pablo Mari signing?
Yeah, what Arteta said. We've got 6 right-footed defenders. We need some balance at the back there. I don't think, like everyone's saying, nobody's really seen that much of him. I don't think any of us are like backpacker football fans enough to sit down and watch the Brazilian league, but we know we've seen highlights. We know what he can do. We know that he's got the height. We know that he can play the ball out from the back, which is important for what Arteta is trying to do. Even what Emery was trying to do when he was here, where play the ball out from the back. We need somebody that's good on the ball, that can spot a pass. So he seems to be capable of that. He's got the heights that they could deal with crosses when they come in. Doesn't look like he's the fastest, but as long as his positional sense is good, it looks a decent signing. But obviously, without having watched him play over 90 minutes, it's difficult to talk too much about him. But I'm happy.
Fair well, Manny, we'll come back to you on the Pablo Mari thing, because if we're going to be looking at him now as a signing for Arsenal, do you think that he's a starter or do you think he's cover at the moment, Manny?
Well, you got to think like this. This is essentially his pre-season. You know what I mean? So at the moment, he's cover. I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to see much of him in the Premier League, to be honest. And if we do, then a Socrates drops out, and it's going to be a centre-back pairing of him and Luiz, because they both can play out from the back, and they both can, launch a ball 60, 70 yards and then find the man. Do you know what I mean? So if he does get in the team, I think it adds height. It adds somebody who's a threat, on set pieces, who can, head the ball, get the ball out. We've seen from highlights, he's aggressive. He's 4'4" and all legs. You know what I mean? Go gadget legs, as some said on another podcast. So I think he just adds a different dimension to the team, and it kind of takes the pressure of Xhaka having to drop deep and play that defensive free that Arteta likes. So there's positive of him coming into the team, but it's going to be a while because, like I said, this is pre-season, so you got to be patient with that one.
And Max, do you think that Mari and Luiz can play together? Do you think they're too similar in terms of their ball playing defense, or do you think that they could form a partnership?
I don't know whether, like Corey said, whether any of us are enough of global football fans to make decisions on that until we've had some time to actually have a look and see what people do. I've got an ex-Brazilian chef of mine who's an Arsenal and Flamenco fan, and he messaged me the other day saying, cracking defender. He essentially turned around Flamenco. He said he's most like Per Mertesacker. He's very positionally aware. He can pick a pass. I mean, modern day footballers.
Is he quick? Is he quicker than Mertesacker?
He said he's slower. He's slower. He said he is slower than the wet weekend. And it's funny because Flamenco play a high line. So they obviously have a system in place that either protects him, and I think Arteta is a guy who's very system orientated. We've seen that with Xhaka being moved into a position where he now doesn't look like the complete waste of oxygen and skin that he was before. So I think there's got to be some thought process behind here. I'm not the biggest Socrates fan. I don't know whether Luiz and Mari are going to be able to play together, but it's pocket change, really. It's coins down the back of the couch for a club that should be, as quotation marks, big as Arsenal.
Fair one, fair one. My say on it is that I believe that, like you boys, we need to see how he suits to the Premier League. He was at Manchester City. I don't take too much into that, but the pure fact that they did have Company, Laporte, Stones, whoever it be in front of him. So I'm not going to give him too much stick for not getting into that side. I do believe, however, that when he was at Man City, I don't believe Arteta was actually there. I might have got that wrong, but I don't think he was actually there. So whether or
he
not
was
he's
there,
heard
mate.
of it. Say again, Scunny?
He was there when he was there, mate.
He was there, was he?
Yeah.
There we go. So that must be a good thing. He must have seen something in him. So we've got to give the guy a chance. Moving on to our other signing. I'm going to come to you with this one, Manny, because I was talking to you about this Cedric Suarez thing, which was a bit of a shock and a surprise to everyone. What's your take on this loan deal, man? Talk to me about this signing.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it because we've said for a while that Bellerin needed competition at right back. For me, Maitland-Niles was never the long-term, successor or, that competition that Bellerin needed. He always needed somebody, of experience behind him. The Lichtsteiner experiment, we all know how that one went down. So with Cedric Suarez, you've got a player who's versatile. You've got a player who knows the Premier League. You've got a player who's two-footed. You've got a player who can score. A cracking free kick here and there. He's a good, dependable squad player. And for a while, we've talked about how Arsenal do not have enough of squad depth to go the distance. You look at, the Man United teams in the past, they had the Darren Fletchers, the Owen Hargreaves, the Pardew sons. They had those guys to come on and do a job. And we haven't had those type of players for a long time. So this is exactly what Cedric Suarez is. And in typical Arsenal fashion, though, he can't play for the next 3 weeks. so but to be honest with you, we've got that 2-week winter break coming up, and he's got time to kind of get back to fitness. But when he does, we know that you've got a dependable player who can come in and who can slot in and knows the league, and he doesn't have to adapt at all, and he can just do his thing. So I'm happy with it. Finally, we go into a Premier League team and poach one of their players, and we can go from there, man. I'm happy with it.
And Scunny, you had a rant about this yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember now. About the Cedric Suarez thing. You wasn't a fan of it. You didn't see the need for it. And also, you didn't really understand about the Premier League experience being a massive issue. So what was your making of this Cedric Suarez thing, mate?
Like I say, I wasn't. Like I said when we first started talking about it, I'm not overly convinced. Like I said, I don't see him as... I don't remember him being absolutely brilliant for...
Bless you, Max. Bless you, Max.
Thank you. At least I got the mute on.
You did well. Sorry. Go on, Scunny.
Yeah, sorry. I don't remember him being dependable at Southampton. I don't remember him being well thought of there. I know he had quite a few games there, but I just don't remember it being something that I would say dependable. Like I just said, dependable. Again,
that's because you don't watch them, Scotty.
Well, I did. I watched the Premier League, mate, but it's just one of them things. Like it's, Southampton are well renowned for selling players to bigger teams. We've had quite a few players we've had a couple of players from there. Liverpool's had many players from there, and I just think if he's one of them players that are actually showing the worth in there, surely one of the bigger teams would have gone out and bought him. And that's what I think to myself. Obviously, he's gone on loan to Inter Milan. He went on loan to Inter Milan, so I don't even know what he was playing like there. So it's not something that I'm really overly convinced on. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I've always said before. I said the same about Arteta. When he first came in, I'm not convinced, but I hope I'm wrong. And it's turning out at the minute that I'm actually being wrong about that. So I don't mind being wrong. I'd prefer to be proven wrong. I just don't, I'm just not overly convinced. Is he going to do a job? Is it worth the money that we paid for him on loan? I know it was reported at the start that it was going to be 5 million, but then it's turned out to maybe be, a lot less than 5 million we've paid. So, it's just one of them things. I just can't see it at the minute. And obviously, like with Manny just said there, is out for 3 weeks. It is just typical Arsenal fashion. Is it one of them ones that is it a panic buy? Is it another one of our panic buys that we tend to do in January? I just don't know, and I just can't see it yet.
Corey, he's 28 years old. He can play right back and left back. Euros winner in 2016. Sounds like an all right signing to me. What do you make of it, Corey?
Yeah, it's not a signing to be excited about. Like everyone knows, Bellerin is the future. at right back for Arsenal. He's been that for a while. He's been out with injuries and whatnot, but he's still that guy. So we're not going to bring in anybody that's going to, like, you know, keep him out of the team. But what we have got is a Portugal international player, 28, so is in his prime. Is versatile, and he can stop us having to do things like play wingers and midfielders in fullback positions. And that's what he's there for. He's cheap as chips. It was an opportunistic buy, which Arsenal like to do. Do you know what I mean? He's not gonna oust anybody from the team. He's just there to provide cover. And me, for one, some people were complaining, like, why do we need him? But I'm like, look, just because Maitland-Niles and Saka played well at fullback doesn't mean they want to play well there. I mean, not play well. Doesn't mean that they want to play there. They are wide players. They are midfielders and a left winger. So that's where they want to develop. That's where they want to end up playing. So we need somebody that's happy to play at fullback, and that's what we've got, and for very little money. So yeah, what's not to like?
Fair one. And Max, just touching on what Corey says, what does this mean for Maitland-Niles now that we've signed Suarez, do you think?
Oh, I thought Ceballos was on his way out, and that was how I justified the signing. I thought Ceballos was going to go, which meant that there was more cover required for midfield, so we needed someone back there. Hopefully it means that Ainsley Maitland-Niles gets a run in midfield, because I'm a big fan, big believer in Maitland-Niles, big believer in his skill set. Not big believer in what he's actually achieved at Arsenal yet, but a big believer in what his skill set would allow him to do, given the right opportunities. And as we know with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, with his mentality, given the fact that he actually takes those opportunities, the way he's done recently at right back under Arteta. So you'd kind of hope that. Look, just to sort of back up what Corey was saying, I think that Arsenal fans need to take the signing for what it is. It's a signing for cover, and stop trying to analyze him as a first team player, as a guy who's going to oust someone. You know, it's a signing. It's on the cheap, very much on the cheap. If it's reported correctly, I think it was like £1 million, and then we get him for free. It's not a first team signing. It's not meant to be an exciting signing that everyone gets up for and says, amazing. It's a signing to bolster our squad with some more mature heads who have some experience both in a Europe final and in the Premiership. So all in all, mate, it's good business, and I hope that this signing means that we see more out of the other guys in what may be their preferred positions under Arteta.
Yeah, let's hope so. And personally feel it was a little bit harsh on Maitland-Niles because I thought he was doing really well at right back. I really did. Well, what I will say about the fullback position, since Arteta's taken over, everybody has played well there. You look at what Bellerin's done and how he's come back. Yeah, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, even Kolasinac, who I can't stand, and everyone knows I can't stand, looked okay there and looked pretty very well there in a couple of games. And then, of course, you've got Saka. So maybe the fullback position is a position that Arteta sees as very important, like Pep Guardiola does. And that's why he's gone with Suarez, because he kind of looks at him. He's saying he looked at him for a couple of seasons now and has liked him a lot. So we've got to give this guy a chance as well. They were our only two signings, but we did manage to keep players as well. We're going to talk about one that Max did mention. Corey, I'll come back to you here. Dani Ceballos, we managed to keep him. There was rumours that he wasn't happy with the lack of games. Rumours that he may go back to Real Madrid or look for another loan move. I quite like him. Do you think that Arteta likes him, though? That's my question.
Do you know what? Time will tell. He was out injured. Jacques has been playing well. Torreira has been playing well. So, you know, Ozil, he's Arteta, as you know, as soon as he's come in, he's sort of started Ozil every match that he can. So there's not been a lot of room for him to really get games. And then we've always got Guendouzi coming off the bench when we need a bit of energy and whatnot. So against Bournemouth, he came on and he looked all right. There might be opportunities for him to get more minutes. I don't see how we would have cancelled that loan deal, because didn't we pay quite a lot of money to Real Madrid to get him on loan? So I don't know how that would even got cancelled or cut short. But yeah, we're still in the FA Cup. We've got Europa coming up. You know, We're still trying to do what we're doing in the league. There's going to be opportunities for him to play, and we'll see like if Arteta likes him or not. I think he is a player that would suit Arteta's style of play. So I'm actually quite excited to see what he can do, because I've not been too impressed with our passing when we're getting pressed of late, and I wouldn't mind seeing someone who is good on the ball, that's good in possession, that can spot a pass, and see what he can do in this team under this type of management. So yeah.
Fair one. And Manny, why are you pleased that Dani Ceballos has stayed, and does he have a future in this Arsenal team, do you think?
Maybe as a squad player. I don't think, like Cora was saying, man, I don't think there's a reason for him to be in the team. Although personally, I would not have Ozil in this team at all. I think we all know how I feel about that dude. You know what I mean? I would prefer to, play a midfield free as opposed to have that number 10 position stinking out the place. But at the end of the day, it's all down to Ceballos. You know what I mean? It all boils down to his mentality. Does he want to play football? Does he want to be in this team? And if he shows Arteta that he's willing to put in the hard work, then there's no reason why he wouldn't pick him. I mean, Arteta picked Nelson over Pepe. You know what I mean? So he's shown that, if hard work comes first, ability comes second with Arteta. So if you put in the work, you will start. So it's all down to Ceballos if he gets in this team or no. We all know that he's got ability. We all know that he can pass the ball. We all know that he's very press resistant. I wish he would stop that spinny stuff that he does. But it's all down to him, really. You know what I mean? So, as I said, time will tell, man.
Yeah, fair one, man. Max, I'm going to come to you on this one, because a player that has stayed is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, the last time you was on the Pots previewing me, you said that this guy was done with Arsenal and he was going to leave. Are you happy that he stayed this transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you be happy that he stayed? He's a top player. I guess at the time, I thought there was just no way that he would want to stay, but we couldn't have seen the turnaround in the team. We couldn't have seen the turnaround in attitude, the turnaround in the emotional connection back with the club. I still don't think he'll stay past summer, but I also think Arsenal would have been it maybe would have been lunacy to get rid of him even for the money if we thought that we could sell him for good money in the summer anyway. So yeah, Oba stays. I'm sure he'll come in and score more goals. I'm pretty sure that even for the next game we'll see Lacazette drop to the bench and we'll get to see a pretty dynamic front three of Martinelli, Pepe and Aubameyang, and could be a goal fest. On Ceballos, just quickly, I just question what Ceballos is. That's my issue with him. My issue is if we're going to buy him, it's about partner. It's not about buying individual players for individual skills. It's about partnerships and how we're going to build partnerships and how we make a cohesive midfield three. I assume we're going to drop the 10. I think the 10's dead. We've spoken about this on a number of podcasts. Ceballos isn't a 10. Traditionally, he's a pre-assister. He's quite press resistant, but he's also quite slow. He does some very pretty things. I'm just not sure where the Ceballos peg fits in the hole with Arsenal, and I'll be interested to see how that plays out. I'm sure he's going to get games until the end of the season, just because there's plenty of games until the end of the season. I was fine with him staying. To be honest, if he had have gone, other than the binned money, I wouldn't have been crying in my tea in the morning, mate.
Fair enough. No, and I'm happy that they both stayed. I'm obviously happy Aubameyang stayed. I'm happy that Ceballos has stayed. I quite like him. I think he does give us a little bit of skill, technique, and creativity. And I'm with Manny. I would rather see him in the team over Mesut Ozil. So, Scunny, coming to you. Could we have done more this window? Would you have liked to see any more signings or any more positions filled in this Arsenal side, mate?
I'm not sure that we could have done anything else, to be perfectly honest with you. This is Arsenal we're talking about here. There's not a lot that we were going to do. The only thing that we was going to do is get loanees, and that's what really people should have been expecting, and this is what we've got. I am glad Ceballos has stayed myself, to be honest with you, and I think the problem is with Ceballos is he came in when Emery was still here, and the problem is that I think that's the Ceballos' downfall is that he was playing in the team with Emery's downfall. So I think that's the problem, and that's where we're not really getting much from Ceballos for that reason, because he was playing with Emery's style, and no one really knew what Emery's style was because it changed week by week. So, and I think that's the issue there. So hopefully we do see him under Arteta and see what he has really got. Yeah, I'd go back to the signings. They haven't even been. I'm looking at the signings now. I've just got it on my TV, and there haven't even been any major signings that I can see that's been of really significant. There's nothing been going on whatsoever. Oh, Igalo, yeah.
Igalo.
We've had Igalo to Manchester United. Yeah, that's a good one on a 6-month loan.
Bruno,
Really? I just don't get it. It just shows, doesn't it? It really does show how far they've come down.
Well, what is he saying,
Bruno Fernandes is a good signing. Let's be real. That is a good signing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but when you get Bruno Fernandes and then you get Igalo,
and then you go Igalo,
you know, it's bad, isn't it? Really, that is bad.
It is bad, Manny. Wasn't it you saying they went for Jovic and then they went for Cavani and then they went for Josh King and now they've ended up with Igalo? What the hell, man?
Yeah, they tried to get Luka Jovic. Right? So the talk was they wanted Luka Jovic, but Real Madrid weren't prepared to let him go. Then they went for Cavani. Then they went to Josh King, and then they've gone for Igalo. So it's like they've gone for Bruno Fernandes, who's a baller. He's a good player.
I was just about to mention that. He's on 100K a week.
Look at this comment.
No way. No way.
He's taking them, he's taking them to the cleaners for that, hasn't he?
Hold on a minute. No way have they just... And Max, you were complaining about us spending that much and spending that X amount of money for Pablo Mari. Yet these idiots went and got Igalo on 100K a week for 6 months. For 6 months.
Look, mate,
and this guy is terrible.
Man, you can't be trusted.
And Igalo's terrible, right? So you know what? All right, they may have got Bruno Fernandes. Congratulations, like well done. You know what I mean? But when I look at both of our transfer windows, I will take what we have over having spent 100K a week on Igalo, mate. No. That's a banter club right there, man.
Banter club.
The same guy I've just spotted in the comments there. The same guy says Igalo is on 300K a week in China. No joke.
Right.
Amazing.
China just the Chinese league, they just don't care, do they? They just give them anybody what they want, don't they?
Man,
see, Karen sums it up, man. Karen sums it up here. Can we all just take a second to laugh our socks off at Man United?
We've just spent the last 2 podcasts laughing at Man U. We spent the last 10 minutes of ours pros laughing at Man U, and now we're laughing at them here.
Because, Max, right? Because as bad as things can get for us, right? We all know that United are going to do something that is just going to give us hope, right? They spent over 80 mil on Maguire, right? They tried to hold on to Ashley Young, but he said, nope, I'm off to Inter. Right? They made a great signing in Bruno Fernandes, and in typical United fashion, they went and got Igalo, right? From Luka Jovic, Cavani, the player of the top bracket, to Igalo. Well done, United. Well done, man. I love you guys, man. I love it.
Man, it has to be said that it is hilariously funny when you see stuff happening like this. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, man, I mean, I don't know what's happening at that football club. But
stay at the wheel. Stay at the wheel, Ole. Ole, stay at the wheel, man. You're doing a great job, man. Keep driving.
Stay at the wheel. So,
Ollie at the wheel is like Dan Potts at the wheel. It's just an accident waiting to happen.
Man, I'm still here, man. I'm still here.
So's Ollie.
Oh, jeez. Man, I don't know if this is politically correct, but it has made me laugh, so I'm going to put it up anyway. Dan, can you ask the panel if Igalo's coming from China? Won't he need to be in quarantine for 2 weeks? That did make me laugh, to be fair. Anyway, so, Max, Mad Max, seeing as you're taking the piss, let's go to you. Mate, are you happy with the last 2 transfer windows as far as Arsenal Football Club are concerned? With the signings we've made, we've not really spent much money, but are you quite content with what we've seen so far from Raul, Edu and Arteta?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I am. Very hard to judge things on what we saw with Emery for the first part of the season. So it's almost like, for me, it was almost like clean slate when Arteta came in, even for established players, like reassessing established players, reassessing players like Luiz, reassessing players like Granit Xhaka, So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us to even judge this half a season that Arteta's had, because it's almost a state of recovery from what came before, and we're not really going to see anything into the next one. But I mean, let's take loan signings out because they're not permanent. But I mean, really, it's Pepe and Tierney. If you want to break it down really well, Pepe, Tierney, Luiz has been improved. We saw glimpses from Tierney, but he looks like he's made of glass, unfortunately. So I'm not sure what we're going to do there. And Pepe's shown us that he's a very, very, very bright spark. Let's hope that he converts into a really world-class player. I don't think any Arsenal fan's going to be really happy until a £60 million defender comes walking through the door. And it's what we've been asking for so long. It's what we've been asking for, I wouldn't even want to say how many transfer windows. When was the last time we were happy with our centre-backs? So difficult question. And I find this difficult the more and more that we go on, because every time there's a question, there's a caveat for the question, a caveat for the answer. Oh, within this system, this person within this system, Arteta in now, signings to come in. We seem to be spending some money. And like I said, I don't hate the January transfer signings. It's better than bringing in a Kim Kallstrom.
God, that's got to go down as one of the worst, doesn't it? Kim Kallstrom,
Yeah.
man.
Hey. Show respect to Kim Kallstrom. He did score a vital penalty. You know what I mean? He still won more trophies than Tottenham in the last decade. So, hey, man, show some respect to the guy, bro.
This is true. Then we can all laugh at Tottenham, to be fair. But Kim Kardashian with a broken back, Jesus, that's got to go down as one of Wenger's most craziest moments. But there we go.
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Kim Kallstrom. Anyways, so Scunny, let's come to you, man, because there is a lot of reliable rumours, a lot of reliable sources that we are going to complete the signing of Upamecano in the summer. If that is true, and we are getting William Saliba as well back from his loan, do those two strengthen our centre-back partnership straight away? And if so, who do we need to get rid of?
Well, I'm not one for rumours, mate. I'm a big believer in I'll wait until I see him in the shirt before I make any judgment on that. The rumours are always rumours, mate. And Upamecano has been coming in since last season. So, is he going to be another Benzema that's been coming in since 2012? It's just one of them, innit? So I'll believe it when I see it. And with Saliba coming in, we'll have to wait and see how he does, and we've got to give him the opportunities, got to give him the chance, haven't we? Because he's going to be he's young, he's going to be new and fresh straight onto it. So we've just got to give him that time. If it does come to fruition with Upamecano, then we've got to give him some opportunities. At the end of the day, that they're at the top. He's at the top of the league at the minute with his team. They're still in the Champions League, and and they're doing really well there. So he must be doing something right.
Not going to see Chambers till year after next. I think Holding needs to go out on a loan. So ditch those two. I think you're probably looking at 4 defenders next year, 4 key defenders next year of being Mari, Socrates, Luiz. Who's the 4th one? Saliba. Yeah, and even then, the people have been having a shout for still allowing Saliba maybe to go out on loan again because the lack of football that he's had this season, and the fact that he is a 20-year-old defender. So it's a very congested space.
With us being so short on centre-backs, and, we've been asking for centre-backs so long, I think we just need to keep him and try and bring him in and bring him up to speed with the Premiership. I don't think we should be sending him out on loan. He's got into the first team at Venezia.
5 into 4 doesn't go. I mean, 9 into 4 doesn't go, but we can look at it and say, we've seen how Holding came back from his cruciate. I would imagine Chambers can do the same. So we're not going to see anything good of Chambers for the entirety of next season until the season after. That's one down. Holding's desperate for a loan. Because if he doesn't get back and start playing regular football, we'll never see what he's got. Leaves us with 5 into 4. I don't know if you can carry 5 defenders. It's a lot of centre backs to carry for a season. Are you going to get much for Socrates? He's on.
But you got to think, will Murray stay? That's another question with him only being a loan player.
That's
another
the thing.
one.
But if he comes in and he impresses, then he stays because it's £8 million. It's pocket change.
So we could get potentially then Mustafi could go. You could see Socrates
I already
or
wrote
Luis
him
go.
off. Yeah.
So there's two potential there going because they are young anymore. They're still, they're going to be wanting to slow down. Surely they can't keep up with the Premiership. With Socrates, he is all right. He's not doing too bad. He's not great either. Same with Luis. He's got his mistakes in him. So we could potentially see one of them two leave as well. I think we've got, is it Mavropanos as well? He's another one. I don't think he's going to cut it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he'll be gone in the summer.
I hope we're not at risk of Mari coming in doing quite well and the Arsenal board doing the Arsenal board thing and saying, well, that's good enough. It's good enough. Say Murray and Louise build up a good enough relationship and Saliba comes in. I hope we don't end up in a situation where they decide, let's not spend that 60 million on Upamecano.
Corey, man, there's a lot of centre-backs there that are mentioned. If I said to you, you're in charge, by the summer, you need to have 4 or 5 of these centre-backs and then the others need to be sold, who would you get rid of, mate?
Get rid of everyone. No, I just think that's the one area. Like, how long have we been complaining about our centre back situation, and complaining that we don't spend no money in that area, and they guys have come in. David Luiz has come in, with Guy Murray, and we're still not satisfied. That just means that we just everything that we've got there. We've got a lot of guys in that position, but we're not happy with any of them. So. I would just destroy and rebuild. I think even like Luis, that wasn't a long-term signing, obviously. Even when we got Socrates, that wasn't a long-term signing either. That was, again, we just keep making opportunistic buys in the area. If there's a guy that's out of favor at his club, or we can get him on a cheap, then that's what we do. But we don't ever sit down and think, okay, who is the best man for the job? Let's spend the money. So if I had my way, I would clear out the whole lot, because there's no one there really that I look at and think, okay, I would like to hang on to them. And just starting with Saliba, just rebuild, spend some money in that area, and just get what we can for our existing defenders and buy some proper ones.
It's the wages that's the issue. It's the Premier League wages and trying to get Socrates on quite big money. Mustafi's obviously on quite big money. That's the reason why we can't get rid of people. But maybe it's time we bite the bullet and let these guys go out really, really cheap, so the clubs buying them aren't paying the transfer fee, and then they can ledger that against the wages that they've got to pay.
Yeah.
Manny, before we wrap this up, Manny, I'm going to ask you, man, because we're going to be looking at potentially Arteta rebuilding now. So we've still got players on loan. We still can't get rid of these players. We've still got people on ridiculous wages. We're talking about people like Mohamed El-Neni and Mkhitaryan. What are you going to try and do if you're Mikel Arteta, Manny, in the summer with some of these players that just clearly need to go because they're dead wood?
I'm gonna bin for real. But the El-Nenis, the Mkhitaryan's, the Staffies, those are players that should have been gone years ago. We've we can't get rid of them. You know what I mean? It's tough for you to buy a player who's clearly as he has been over years, but he's on 90k a week. So what are you going to do with a player like that? Especially if you're a club who can't afford his wages. And the O'Bennies and the Mkhitaryan's on 180k a week. He's terrible. You know what I mean? He's terrible. So one of the reasons why we haven't been able to get rid of these poor players is because, again, true our fashion, we've got poor players on high wages. For whatever reason, we thought paying players like, the Mustafi's 90k and Mkhitaryan 180k and like 100k and look, El-Neni on 60k. We thought that was a great idea. The reason why the team like were able to get rid of the deadwood that they had is because they were all wages. They were able to sell Benteke for 30 mil and Sacco for 30 mil because the wages weren't so high. While we don't have that luxury, so you'll see that it's gonna be a lot harder for us to ship these players we're gonna have to take a hit on a lot of transfers to get rid of them because wages are just too. Yeah, they start to.
Manny, we're losing you a bit, mate. Your signal is not great. Your Wi-Fi is really poor, man. You're very crackly.
I got none of that. Didn't get none of it.
I could get bits and pieces of it, man. I don't know if you're moving around, Manny, or what it is.
I'll tell you right now what Manny said. He said, fuck Mkhitaryan, fuck El Neni, fuck Mustafi. I guarantee you if those three things were in there.
They're the ones he wants to get rid of, man. I'm going to bring a question in now that was mentioned earlier. It's quite a good way to wrap up. Moving forward, there's a lot of doubt about some players. Zod Sinclair has asked, do you think Arteta will realise that Xhaka is a liability, drop him and play Socrates and Pablo as centre-backs and move always fit David Luiz into midfield as a DM, height and quality next to Torreira, the soldier? This is a question which a lot of people have kind of asked. I've seen on this chat a few times about David Luiz moving into defensive midfield alongside Torreira. Max, we'll come to you on this, man. What do you make of that question?
No, I don't think it'll happen. I think if David Luiz was going to be a defensive midfielder, someone would have turned him into a defensive midfielder before the age of whatever he is now, 32. I think it's another one of these things that keeps getting brought up, keeps getting tossed up. I just don't think it's going to happen. Do I think David Luiz could do a job there in a pinch? Absolutely. He's a footballer. Regardless of his misgivings, he's a baller. That's what he does. I don't think that you move it. And to be honest, I think, and this is coming from someone who has really, really heavily slagged off Xhaka for a really, really long time. I think right now Xhaka is pivotal to a midfield two that makes sense. He's allowing Torreira for us to see the best out of Torreira. I said on our podcast just before, I wouldn't be surprised if he got an extension. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but horses for courses, guys. If the guy's doing a good job in a good role, and as on top of that, and I understand what you're saying, that he's a liability. I just think you have to look at it in the sense that Granit Xhaka's liability when he gets turned. Within this system, he's a front-facing defender. He's got everything in front of him. He's not getting exposed the way he was getting exposed before. So I guess let's look at it until the end of the season. He's going to play almost every game until the end of the season, I would imagine. And I tell you what, if he gets through until the end of the season without having a Granit Xhaka moment, there's going to be a lot of us who are sort of looking at it and saying, shit, he's played really well for an extended period of time now. In saying that, if he plays like shit, see ya.
Fair one. And Scunny, to finish up, mate, I'm going to put 3 players out there, or 3 positions, let's say, that I believe next season, if we are to strengthen, then we can potentially challenge. I believe we need a centre-back. I believe we need a defensive midfielder. And I believe that we also need a creative midfielder to play in that 3 that's better than Mesut Ozil. If we got those 3 positions correct, could we challenge Liverpool, or is that just too much of an ask?
Well, I think that's probably a bit too much to ask at this moment in time. You've got to think they've had 6 years to get to this point. You know, we can't just do that in one. We can't do that in one transfer window, should I say? I think it's maybe a couple of years behind. I think we'd also need to probably replace a centre forward as well. I think we're going to need that at some point because Aubameyang is not getting any younger. He's going to be wanting to move on to the next big thing. For instance, you know, Barcelona was reported to coming in for him this transfer window as well as Real Madrid. And if that's the case, they may leave it till bless you, mate. Till they may leave it till the summer. So I think we're going to have to try and maybe find that centre forward. Lacazette isn't really pushing it as much, you know. Is 15 goals a year, 15 goals a season, if that. So I do think we're going to need to upgrade there. It's maybe this end of this season as well. So it is a case of, I think we're going to have to wait a few years before we get to that point.
Agree completely.
I'm gonna put this up from Archie because he's kind of looking at what I'd said there. I think we'll be short, but Champions League should be guaranteed. Upamecano, I think that's supposed to be Thomas Partey and Grealish. Excuse me. So, I mean, Corey, how many players are we away from competing with Liverpool?
Competing with Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool are just on a different planet
Planet.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they're taking a piss. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like how much wins in a row. That game against Wolves, I'm like, how
Oh, man.
the did you actually come out of that game with a win? It's crazy. That's us. We're 4-1 down. They come out of the match 2-1 up. It's crazy. So they're on another planet in terms of even when they play badly, they're getting a win. They're at that level that not many teams reach. So if we're talking about catching them, then I mean, yeah, it would take a lot. I don't think you need a Klopp for that as well. It's not just about the personnel. You need a special coach. What we've got in Arteta is a coach who's still learning. He's learning on the job. You know, he's everything that he's doing for the first time, and he's still going to make mistakes. So even if we did get players in, it's like what Mike said. You still need a few years to actually like get to that level. But a good start would be, like you said, a centre back, a midfielder that's got a real presence about him that could do a bit of everything, because we missed that since Aaron Ramsey left. And yeah, probably somebody up top as well that's a real killer, that, you know, can get you like 30 league goals. Kind of what Aubameyang's done, but, you know, maybe just someone a bit younger. And like Lacazette, better backup, and maybe, the wide players would need to really step it up as well. So, yeah.
Upperman, Kano, Party, and Grealish got a spare 250 million. Anyone?
Yeah, man, you know it. That's going to cost a lot of money, innit? Manny, I hope your Wi-Fi's a bit better, man. Anything else to add on signings for us to try and compete at the very top?
Fix the spine. Fix the spine 100%. Get a solid centre back. They're out there, but they just cost a lot of money. It's whether Arsenal are willing to actually go there and spend that money on a centre back. Get rid of Xhaka. I don't care what Max says. I don't care what you say, because against Bournemouth, you will have in Xhaka moments where he's playing these Hollywood passes for no reason and putting us under pressure. Had Bournemouth been on it, we would have been in trouble. And it wasn't just one or two passes; it was 4 of them where he just gives it away because lack of concentration. You can't trust. There's too many players in this team that you just can't trust to for an extended period of time. They're going to make mistakes because that's.
But it's
in their
about
DNA.
prioritization of monetary output.
I don't give a damn.
Put on your business hat. We're not going to spend £200 million in a transfer window. If we're going to get the £60 million centre back that you want, then you keep Xhaka because you can't replace them both. Pull your head out of your raging butthole.
Listen. I just read from Ornstein that one of our priorities is the number 6. So Max, you can stick your stop sign head up your own ass because we all know you love to do that. The reason why we are looking at a number 6 is because we need more than the passing ability in there. So Max, shut the fuck up.
Won't happen in the next transfer window.
It was my time to talk. Just shut the fuck up, because we're tired of listening to you talk. So, yeah, my thing is this: you fix the spine. You get in a defender. You get in a reliable number 6 who can, go box to box, who can pass the ball, and who is more steady, more mobile, and more reliable than the one we have now. And then you go for a back. For me, you go for a backup DM to help Torreira, because he's the only player in the team that can actually do what he does. And I think it's unfair to rely on him to play every single game, play in that role and the intensity that he plays it in. Unfair for him. So for me, defense, that number 6 position and that DM area right there is pivotal. You fix the spine, you go a long way to actually becoming title challengers again. Fuck what Max says.
Manny, I've got to stay with you on this one because seeing as you're in a ranty mood, there's no place for Mesut Ozil in this team from anybody on here. What the hell do we do with this guy, man? What do we do with this guy?
Let him go. Just let him go. Pay him off. Let him go.
What you do with this guy? You're stuck with him, right? Me personally, you know what I would do to him. You know what I would do to him. Right, in all my years as an Arsenal fan, this is the player that I hate the most. right? Because all the ability in the world, weak, feeble, and people love him for whatever reason because they're blind. I can't stand the guy. What you do with him at this point, because nobody is going to pay those wages, you fade him out of the team. You start to play a different sort of formation. You play a three in midfield. You don't need him as a Ozil. That's essentially how you fade him out of it. Arteta has to play the long game in the sense that he's got to get certain fans on side. He's got to get that dressing room on side, and that's by playing him. You do what Emery does, you lose the dressing room. That's one of the reasons why he lost it. So you kind of cater to his needs for now, but you fade him out very slowly in the understanding that nobody is going to pay 350k for him and that he's going to be here until his contract runs out. It's just that simple. Me personally, this is the PC world of YouTube, so I can't say what I would do to Ozil, mate. So yeah.
Man, I know you can't stand him. And to be fair, I think we all five of us probably agree. I speak to Corey a lot about Ozil, and I think he's even done with him. Boys, we're going to wrap this up. Before we do, I just want a league position finish from all of you this season. Where are we going to finish? I'm going to go with 6th place. Max, where are Arsenal going to finish this season?
I'm going to go with 7th.
Okay. Scunny?
I'm going to go with you, mate. I'm going to go 6th.
Cause?
6th.
And Manny?
8th.
8th. Okay. Sweet. And one more time round. Where are we going to finish in the Europa League? I'm going to say we're going to get to the final of the Europa League, but I feel we're going to bottle it and balls it up again, unfortunately. Max?
I actually think we're much better positioned than we were last time around to win it. I wouldn't be surprised if we won it. I think Arteta's got the right mentality to get the players up. I think Emery struggled to get the players up for the big day, for the big event, and I think Arteta's got that in him. I think we've seen that, even though the football's still a little bit funny and the team still has some issues with cohesion and making midfields that make sense and Ozil's a Pratt and all of this stuff. I think that Arteta, I think that we're good enough compared to everyone in that we may very well finish outside of the 6th, miss out on Europa League football and go and win it,
One-word
get into
answer,
Champions
man.
League football. Well, I can't make a one-word answer, can I, Manny?
Jesus Christ, man. One-word answer. Shut up and
I
let
will get
Scunny
on a
answer.
plane and
Jesus.
fight you, Manny. I will fight you.
I'm waiting for it. Just shut up and let Scunny speak.
I think we could win. I think we could win. Every time.
Scunny, do you think we can win the Europa League?
No.
Okay, where are we going to get to?
Knowing our luck, we'll get past Olympiacos and then we'll bump into Inter Milan, and that'll be it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think if we're going to face, I think our downfall in that is we're going to meet one of the harder teams quite quickly, and then I think that's when it's we're going to get stuck.
Corey, Europa League, what do you reckon?
With the team playing at the level that's playing at the moment, I think we can get to the quarters, but then we could go out. However, if the team plays to the potential that it can, then we can win it. Because you have to think that if you've got Pepe, Aubameyang, all the guys that are injured, coming back and whatnot, then we could be a force, But as they are, not winning it, but potentially, yeah, we could win it.
Okay, cool. Manny, Europa League, how far do you reckon we'll go?
Semis. We'll get to the semis.
That was 3 words, bro. It's a one-word answer.
Man, I'm gonna wrap this up now before you two start. I'm gonna let you two carry on off air because this is gonna go off.
It is gonna go off because, it was a short answer, but I wasn't interrupting people like this little stop sign. You know what I mean? So I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't argue with avatars, mate. I only argue with people.
Man, you argue with yourself in the mirror, bro.
Finish this shit up. It's gonna go.
Boys, it's been a pleasure. Corey, thank you very much, mate, for your time again. But always a pleasure speaking to you, mate. And we'll need to get you on here much more often. So thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries, man.
Scunny, as ever, bro. We will speak to you very soon. I will see you at Burnley on Sunday.
You will.
And make sure you bring your hat, mate, 'cause it's going to be cold up there, buddy.
Yeah,
It's up for you.
It's up north, mate. So it's not
It's
too.
up for you, mate. It's up for
Yeah.
you. Manny, always a pleasure, mate. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad that you were awake enough to join us on this podcast, mate. So thank you.
Yeah, but always a pleasure, bro. Jesus.
Top man. And last but not least, Max, in all seriousness, one, thank you very much. And two, last time we spoke, it was not a very nice sort of environment over there for you, man, in terms of the bushfires and stuff. So everyone okay now?
Yeah. Everything's okay. I think there's still some spot fires around and stuff like that, but the need for relief is still massive, and the amount of people displaced and dead animals and all that stuff is massive. So I think I said it on one of the other podcasts, jump online to, I think it's like bushfire.gov.edu or something like that. And if you're thinking about giving to a charity, give to the bushfires. 43 degrees today. It's fucking hot.
Jesus. That's unbelievable, man. Well, listen, you keep safe, bro. And it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys. Transfer deadline day is done, so we can stop talking about transfers because it does get quite frustrating as an Arsenal fan. Please join us on Monday night on the same old Arsenal. Until then, up the Arsenal, boys. Up the Arsenal.